Hello everyone, Dan here, and welcome back to Moderately Anonymous MTG, the greatest cEDH channel in the multiverse. As always, this episode is brought to you by TCG Player. Hit that TCG Player affiliate link in the description to pick up any of the cards that you see in today's video. It's a great way to help out the channel. If you want to get an official Modanon playmat, make sure you pick one up through our Inked Gaming affiliate link. Want to make sure your cards stand out at the EDH table? Use our affiliate link to grab some altar sleeves and use code MODANONMTG at checkout for 5% off your order. And we're also partnered with Dragon Shield. Pick up the greatest card sleeves and TCG accessories in the multiverse and support the show. Make sure to visit our merch store to get some official Modanon merch. We've got t-shirts, sweatshirts, crew necks, and more with original Modanon designs. All of these links are in the video description below. And thank you to all of our patrons who make great content like this possible. Become a patron to enjoy Patreon exclusive content, give direct support to the channel, join our Patreon Discord, and even get your deck featured on the show. And remember, if you enjoy this video, it helps out a lot to click that like and subscribe button. It's one of the best ways to support the channel, and everyone is highly appreciated. Hey everybody, it's me, Dan, Moderately Anonymous MTG, and we're back here today for another episode of Dockside Extortionist, where we're going to be taking a closer look at the plays and why we make them in cEDH. So today we're checking out a video by our buddies over at Play to Win. This is what is the best tournament winning cEDH deck. So without further ado, let's just hop right into it. Alright, so we got Big Cam pulled up here. Let's let Cam do our intro and we'll hop right into it.
Of a cEDH tournament, we wanted to figure out what is the best cEDH tournament winning deck in cEDH.
First up, we have Nick playing Ken.
Alright, so we don't have opening hand information for these decks, but we do have our four different decks here. So
Bauman's
we've got Krark and
Sakashima list from Tier 1 Con. Cameron's playing Anthony E's.
We have got the Teferi Temporal Archmage deck that won the Cash Cards Unlimited tournament about a month or so ago. I know that this is a budget restricted deck. There's no Mox Diamond, there's no Time Twister. There's a couple of like classic cEDH things that are missing because this was a non-proxy tournament event. So Cam's got a little bit going against him here, but it's a strong enough deck.
Teferi list from the Cash Cards Unlimited tournament.
It won a Black Lotus.
Fitz
did
is
win a
playing
Black
Ryan,
Lotus.
aka Koipito's
Magda
Hellkite Magda
is a mono red deck. If you haven't seen it before, it's a combo deck. They're using these cards right here, Clock of Omens and things like that, to basically shit out your entire deck and win the game through various ways. One of them is Ufari Hellkite. I've been killed by that before.
And I'm playing Mike, aka Satin.
And of course, a deck that needs absolutely no introduction. Winota, one of the best decks in the format. One of the clean sweepers, just too good.
With Powers Winota list.
So if I'm looking at these four decks, I'm thinking that it is very much a contest right now between Winota and Krark, and pretty much which one of those two decks can get their footholds in first. I think that Winota is a little bit more aggressive in those early plays than Krark and Sakashima tends to be, so I'm kind of leaning towards Winota taking this one, but we'll see how everybody does. I mean, who knows? It could be one of the monocolored decks. You never know.
No free games here.
Let's get started.
So, no opening hand info, but we've got the moles. What has everybody got for moles here? We've got, I guess no record for Nick and Dylan, but we've got a mulligan to 6 on Magda and a mulligan to 5 for Cam on Teferi, so not looking too hot for Cam in a deck that really wants to like try to control a board and land a bunch of combo pieces. But if Winota slows the game down enough, it might be like, you know, enough.
I will say pass.
I will get a draw.
Mana Vault coming off for Krark and Sakashima is a pretty strong play. That sets us up for quite a few different things on turn 2. I know we've got the Mishra's Workshop on the screen here for a second, but just wanted to talk about that turn 1 from Krark and Sakashima. So we've got the Mana Vault. That can lead us into turn 2, possibly Krark plus Sakashima. It could be leading us into a Stormkiln Artist. There's a number of different things that a Mana Vault can open us up to on turn 2 that are pretty powerful. Sometimes you just have Mana Vault and none of those things to pay it off, so we'll see what kind of hand Nick actually has after this.
I will get a draw.
But going to Cam here. Cam's got the Mishra's Workshop, which is
my own. Then
oh, all right. So Cam on the Moldify has the Mishra's Workshop, which is definitely one of the things you want to be mulliganing towards. So we've got Mana Vault into
I will pass.
Mind Stone.
We'll play a
so Mana Vault into Mind Stone, that is 4 artifact mana, and then we've got our Mishra's Workshop, which only works for artifact spells, so we can't like even activate the ability to untap Mana Vault on it. This is not putting us to a turn 2 Teferi on board. We could see just like Island Lotus Petal Teferi and then untap our mana and go. We'll see how that pans out for him.
And
Then next
we'll
we got
cast
Fitz
out
coming up on
Ragavan.
Magda with
I'll
the turn
cast
1
a Lotus Petal and
Ragavan
I will pass.
into a
Draw
Lotus
card.
Petal and
Plateau.
pass.
Cast Giver of Runes. Pass turn.
Untap.
All right, so Dylan is the other deck that I said that we were looking at here on Winota, and just the turn 1 Giver of Runes, very slow start, nothing too explosive. That's kind of like, for the rest of the table at least, that's exactly what you want to see out of the Winota deck. No turn 1 Jeweled Lotus Winota go.
Upkeep, draw.
So here we go into
That.
Nick's turn.
And I'm going to play a Treasonous Ogre. Go to
Mountain for turn into
34,
Treasonous
and
Ogre.
I'm
So
going to
this
play
is
everybody's
the nightmare scenario. We're paying life and we're casting
I'm
Krark.
going to go to
Paying life
25,
and probably
we will
casting
play everybody's
Sakashima
favorite
would be my
meatball a
guess.
second time. And I am going to say go.
All right.
Ooh,
Well, let
all
me
right.
get a
So Treasonous Ogre into Krark and both Sakashima and pass is probably a little bit telling, in the fact that we don't have the gas to just win right here. Obviously, there's like no Jessica's will in hand that we would very gladly pump our Treasonous Ogre mana to get out. So I'm wondering what's in the rest of Nick's hand. We don't know how many cards it is. It looks like it could be 5 or 6, looking at the bottom corner of the screen here. But yeah, a very, very powerful play, but with no backup. I'm just fingers crossed for Nick that we get
Alright.
back around the
Golden
table with
Delta.
nothing too bad happening.
Going down to 39.
Cam does have the island.
An island. Back to basics.
Oh,
And
you're
back
kidding.
to basics. Oh my
basics.
lord.
We are going to.
What a
pass
hit.
turn after that.
Oh my gosh, back to basics is a gigantic fucking hit. So, R.I.P. Nick on Krark and Sakashima, not getting that blue mana back. Although we do have an untapped, we have a mountain, a basic mountain that he played for last turn. I don't know if Nick is on this point at on Ken's newer Krark and Sakashima list that runs something like 12-ish basics. If that's the case, then Nick is going to be in luck, because this is the kind of scenario that Ken is looking out for with the 12 basics in the deck like this in Archon of Emeria. But back to basics is going to be backbreaking if Nick can't untap that blue mana or get another piece of blue
Draw
mana.
card. Sad Strip Mine. Dwarven Miner. Dylan.
Fitz going
while
into
we
Strip
can't-
Mine and then Dwarven Miner, which destroys in target non-basic land, but most importantly is just a dwarf.
And we're gonna send this Ragavan at you.
Absolutely no effects. Damage.
Make treasure.
All right, Ragavan
Professional
hits
Facebreaker.
Dylan
We're gonna
and hits
crack the pedal
Professional
and
Facebreaker. That's a
treasure.
good one.
We're gonna cast us a Magda. I would like to pass the turn.
Untap.
Fortunately, 1 mana shy of being able to cast the Facebreaker there, so we're just spending our Lotus Petal mana and the treasure off of Ragavan into Magda and passing,
Not my plateau.
which is certainly not a
Draw
bad play.
card. Cast Lotus Petal.
Dylan's got the
pay
pedal.
3 life to have this Shatter Skull the Hammer pass.
Oh my
coming
gosh. Bolting yourself for a Shatter Skull under this back to basics hurts,
I'll
but
go
you
to
do what you
35.
gotta do.
I will cast Dockside Extortionist.
Dockside
Ooh,
Extortionist is
casting
the
Lotus
reason why you do
So that's
that.
4 treasures off the ETB. I'm going to stack the
4 treasures on
and cast
ETB
Winota.
means
I'll go to
turn to
combat.
Winota,
I'm gonna
so
send-
again, to talk about nightmare scenarios, back to basics, and then Dylan just untapping Dockside Extortionist into Winota, that's bad luck. So Giver of Runes, I believe, is a core and not a human, so I think that
Giver
we've
of
got a
Runes
trigger here if we want to go
adds
for it.
Cameron, I guess.
Yeah, we're going
trigger
to
on
Cameron.
attack.
We got a
6
Winota
cards.
trigger.
The human that will come in is Thalia, Guardian of
Ooh,
3.
Thalia is the one that comes
good
in.
card.
So this again speaks to the scenario I was talking about with Nick and not having the Jessica's Will in hand or something like that. Obviously, like this is the scenario that we're trying to look out for, is things like Thalia coming in, Archon or something like that coming in off of Winota triggers, or just coming out of the hand. But yeah, that's
I like
pretty
that, actually. I'm down with
pretty
that.
bad.
Cameron, Thalia is also coming at you.
I'm down to 36.
4 cards in hand, pass turn.
I'm going to leave my training ground. Except I'm going to take 1 damage from my mana vaults, and I'm going to draw this card.
All right, let's see what Nick's got here. We got
Lose
plenty
2
of
life.
setup. We got
I'm
an
going to
ancient
put a
tomb.
grape shot on the stuff. Grape shot is going to target Giver of Runes, because why not? I have 2 Krark triggers. Grape shot goes back to hand. Grape shot still goes back to hand.
Okay, so we put Grape Shot on the stack. It's got a storm count of 1. So, you know, it doesn't make any extra copies of itself. That was pointed at the Giver of Runes, and both go back
I
to
am going
hand,
to
which is
pay
very
nine life.
unfortunate.
We're gonna go
We're paying
for
life
the-
into the
I
Ogre,
am
and we're going
to
for it
cast
again.
a
Storm
Grape Shot.
count is
2 lovely
2.
Krark triggers, and then there is a Storm trigger on top of that. And original Grape Shot will target Giver. We will put the Storm copy first, and we will target Thalia.
I have no effects.
I now have.
All right, so we
Krark
got
triggers.
Thalia off board with
Copy
that
of
Storm
Grape Shot.
trigger,
I
and
will
now we've got
target
the
Giver
Krark
again.
flips. We got an
Grape Shot back
extra
to
Grape
hand.
Shot.
I'm going to go to 7 and do this one more time. Storm count is currently.
Or, no, I'm sorry, we did not have
So
an
I
extra
have a
Grape
Storm
Shot.
trigger on
We're
top,
casting Grape
and then we
Shot
got
again.
2 lovely Krark triggers. We'll point 1 copy at Giver of Runes and 1 copy at Winota.
Yes, it'll die.
Yeah, are 2 lovely Krark triggers. A copy. I'm going to point damage at Winota.
2 damage on it.
And the last lovely trigger. So both of these go at Winota. And
All right, so we got to kill the Winota here. It costs Nick
anymore, but Winota
almost
is
20
nice
life.
Oh, what was the original one at? The original one was on Winota too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So Nick should have had an original target for his grape shot before the copies started to resolve.
That's the end of my shenanigans. And I'm at 7.
So yeah, a
So
little
that's right.
misplay there on the fact that we should have been calling out that original target before the Krark triggers go in the stack, but you know, Krark's a very difficult deck to play. It happens.
I'll go to 35 on my draw because I'm mana vault. Here's my
Cam
draw.
untapping
Let's
and
play a
going,
Misty Rainforest.
going into the
Fetch
Misty,
34, get an island.
I guess we're
pass the turn.
still
I will
short of
untap this
passing
mountain.
Teferi here because we have to
I feel
spend
like
that
this is
mana
a-
vault on the back to basics, which is significantly slowing the table down. And Nick choosing is maybe a strong word because I think that Nick definitely wants to get all of those things off the table. But Nick choosing to play table police in this scenario to remove the Giver of Runes, the Thalia, and the Winota is definitely a big amount of pressure off of the backs of the rest of these players now. Like, Dylan's going to have a huge amount to come back from this, especially given the fact that we shocked in that non-basic in the Shatter Skull Smashing hurts pretty bad for Dylan in this scenario. But no one else is really getting too far ahead at this point either. Like, Cam is not able to cast Teferi because we don't have enough mana. We're like off by a pretty long shot, having already spent our mana vault. Nick is down to 7 life with that Treasonous Ogre on board. So if we had a payoff for the Treasonous Ogre other than the Grape Shot, like, it's probably not coming to fruition. And we've also still only got 1 basic over there.
The mono red player and the mono blue player now. Magda, I am your friend. I did not blow up all of your dwarves.
This is true.
I also have a 2/3
I-
that blocks dwarves really well.
Yeah, I feel pretty out of this game at this point. If I were able to untap with the permanence that I ended my last turn with, I think I probably could have started snowballing a little bit, but Nick
Absolutely.
basically wrathing my entire board for the most part really kind of just puts me completely out of this game with back to basics being out and Winota now costing 6 mana. Getting back into this game is going to be tricky.
Now
Winota
my
costs 6
eyes
mana.
are on Fitz. And now that Nick is at a precarious enough life total, that fucking ogre isn't going to matter as much.
I would
Yes.
like to go.
Yeah, Dylan having already spent his first rituals here. He spent a Lotus Petal. We spent our 2 non-basics after this back to basics. We know it costs 6 mana, and we've spent our Dockside Extortionist, which is like the thing that just propels you forward in a scenario like this. Having already spent that Dockside Extortionist here, Dylan is kind of just like sitting duck, like gonna hope for some basics and try to play out some cards, but like not a lot of hope for Dylan in this scenario, to be honest. And Nick at such a low life total, even with 2 Krarks on board, 4 cards in hand, he's gonna untap with 1 mana. So this really has quickly turned into like the monocolored
I
decks
would
taking
like
over the
to
table here.
rag
And
a
Fitz is
van
going
here,
to
I
keep
think.
making a ton of mana. Fitz is going to be able to make a
Make
lot
a
more
treasure,
mana than the rest of the
flip
table.
top. Torpor Orb. I think we're going
That
to
is a
pass it on
Torpor Orb
after
off the
that.
top of
Good
Cam's,
watch.
which I'm
Untap.
assuming that
Draw
Fitz
card.
does not
Pass turn.
want.
Untap, lose a life, and draw. I got a land. I think I just say pass.
Dylan draws, doesn't have anything to play, and likewise for Nick,
On my
loses a
draw
life to
step,
that
I'll
mana
go
vault. So
31,
very serious
Snakeable
clock at 6
Island.
life.
My draw changed everything.
My decisions became super easy right now because right now, if I don't draw a land, I just pass immediately. So I have a very quick decision.
Dylan got a
Land,
great
pass
seat at the
right away.
table.
I'm just gonna pass for now.
Cam's got a 3rd island, so we're up to 4 mana over there and still not able to cast anything, which is really unfortunate. So it looks like that Mishra's Workshop, even though that it was a huge amount of propulsion on the first turn, like having to spend that mana vault on the back to basics is ending up really hurting Cam here for propelling the board further for him.
At
It
the
looks
end
like
of your
Fitz is
turn,
like
I
really,
would like to tap for a red,
really
crack
coming
for a
to take
red,
over here.
and then tap these 2 bad boys to cast this Stoke the Flames.
Okay, Stoke of Flames with Convoke. Right, okay, cool. Wow, I wonder what we're pointing this at here. I would assume it must be going at the
Make 2
Sakashima.
treasures.
Before you target, I've had all of this for 2 turns, and I have not won yet.
Hear me out. I don't make deals with terrorists. Sakashima.
The littlest goblin is dead.
Okay, so Nick necessarily playing the part of you don't need to hit my stuff because I am powerless and I can't do anything right now. Well, we all know that's not true with a Krark and Sakashima deck, don't we? I think that if you're a fan of this channel, you've seen it enough times. Krark and Sakashima does not need board presence really to be able to lift off and take off the ground. Two Krarks is also a lot of board presence. So, I mean, there's also, if we're looking at the table here, what are the other targets that we're going to hit with this spell? Like, we can go after Dockside Extortionist, I guess. But yeah, it's obviously got to be the
I hope you have
Sakashima.
a
Like,
red blast
if we're in Fitz's seat at the table here, we're looking to just hammer in these nails, get those nails in the coffin, just absolutely bury these opponents right now, so we can just start taking off.
Teferi's gonna pull, because I now.
I don't. But
I
you know
think
what
Nick
I'm gonna
is
do,
pretty
Teferi?
close to it,
gonna
or I'm
swing
sorry,
some
Fitz is
beats
pretty
to
close
go
to it here on
this
Magda as well.
Ragavan at Cam, Magda as well at Cam, and then this Dwarven Miner at Dylan.
No effects.
Me neither. I'm going to 28.
Go to 5 treasures. Top card.
All right, that's the magic number here.
Stay
What do we got?
Gone forever. I would like to pass my turn, fine fellows.
Go to my turn.
Okay, so no
We are
activation for the Magda there, which
categorically
makes
now,
sense because I think you probably more likely want to activate Magda at instant speed. I don't know what the get is here. I'm not super familiar with the Magda deck, but there are a lot of different things that you can get. I know Clock of Omens is one of the best cards in the deck because you can start using it to make infinite treasures, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
But I think we're not quite ready for it yet.
Nah, you guys are totally fine.
No, it's the danger zone. I have a City of Brass.
I have or do not have an artifact dwarf yet, so you guys are not like dead.
Okay, so yeah, that's the key piece to this, is that in addition to the Clock of Omens, Fitz also needs one of Adaptive Automaton, I want to say, is the card. That's an artifact that is all creature types, has changeling. So if you tap that and with Clock of Omens and Magda, you get to start making, I think, infinite amounts of treasure, something like that. So Dylan has the City Brass
I'm gonna
and
pass
the
the
City of
turn.
Dylan,
Pass.
at the end
I'm
of your
sure.
turn, I
Yeah.
am going to cast a mystical tutor. I get a Krark roll.
Oh,
I'm
would you look at that? Would you look at Mister? You don't need to worry about me because I have nothing on board. Krark and Sakashima has an end-step mystical tutor. Who would have thunk it? Not me.
to copy this mystical tutor and not do anything with the second copy or rev.
Okay.
Did anybody see
We
there
get
was a
an
new Thomas?
REB. Interesting. We're getting an REB off of this mystical tutor, and that's just to go for back to basics, I would assume. That's a very interesting call. Because again, we have Nick sort of playing this position as table police, where like, I don't know what's in Nick's hand. Maybe Nick is going to REB this at end step and untap and win the game. Let's see. Oh, I guess we can't even do that end step, can we? So yeah, we can't do that end step because that's mystical tutor putting it on top. So yeah, we're going to have to go into our draw step, meaning that we are going to miss untapping these basics anyway. So this is like a two turn plan.
I'm going to draw this card that everybody knows what it is. I'm going to go to 5. I've done this backwards. That's okay. I'm going to play this Gemstone Cavern. Say go.
Go to my.
So in Nick's position here, where we're trying to fade this entire table for the rest of this turn, like the only thing we're really trying to fade is Fitz with 1, the attackers, and 2 with the combo for Magda coming out. I think in Nick's scenario, I maybe just try to cheese off of Jessica's will there, because that's going to provide us the most power if we can double it. And sure, that's a 50-50 shot whether or not we win or lose, but like, what are our odds? What are our odds that we win at this table right now? I guess Cam has a ton of open blue mana, so like that's the thing that we need to be wary about. Like, we need to not get our only 50-50 shot countered by Cam. But I don't know. I'm very interested to see what the plan is here with the REB and how this pans out.
27 now. Get a draw. Workshop for 3 mana for artifacts. Cast an arcane signet.
Okay, so we're getting some more use out of our workshop. This is one of the things that I don't really like about Mishra's Workshop. It is a huge amount of mana. It's a Black Lotus that you get to untap every turn, but it's only for artifacts. And even if you have, I'm going to guess Cam has like upwards of 15 in his deck, it's still not a huge amount, you know? Like, we've seen, I think, 2 or 3 turns right now where Mishra's Workshop didn't do anything and like effectively can't do anything. Like, it's a very powerful spell when it's good, and it's a very mediocre spell when it's not. In Vintage, it's obviously a lot more powerful, where you can have 4 in your deck, you have your entire deck that is only artifacts. In your 100-card singleton cEDH deck, I think Mishra's Workshop is a lot less powerful, although it is still a very powerful card.
You all know I have a thing in my hand. I can stop this.
Okay, so here comes the Transmute Artifact into the known REB. So, I mean, kind of expected that the mono blue deck has some interaction for it, and I think that Cam is maybe going for the Chain Veil here, but I'm not quite sure. I'm not exactly sure what the plan to immediate victory would be for this.
I mean, I feel like you should stop it because there are no other blue players at the table.
Imagine he was looking to
That's
get
true.
that back to basics, hit some with the blast.
Yeah, like specifically, I'm choked on blue. So if I can get back to basics gone, that was the intent.
Yeah, so Nick is facing a pretty difficult decision here, where we've specifically spent a mystical tutor and a draw step on getting this REB to unlock our mana for next turn. But here we were being presented with the Transmute Artifact, which is pretty much a DEFCON level 5 threat. So I think you are kind of forced into spending your REB here, which really, really hurts on the tempo play of having spent your draw step on that REB.
I don't know if this is an I win the game. It's not an I win the game right now with what we see. I guess it might be enough mana to cast Teferi, but then he would still need the Chain Veil, and we don't know that he's got that.
Let's let it fly.
Yeah, so the thing that we're thinking about here is this could be... It could be Transmute Artifact for maybe, say, like a Jeweled Lotus, which would get us into Teferi. Depending on what we're sacrificing here, I assume that Cam is going to sacrifice the Mana Vault if this goes through. Important part of Transmute Artifact, unlike other spells of that nature, is that you don't sacrifice your artifact unless Transmute Artifact resolves. So we don't necessarily have to know what is going to be sacrificed here. But if Cam does sacrifice the Mana Vault, that does mean that Cam will not be able to Jeweled Lotus, spend 6 mana to play the commander, and then untap the Mana Vault for the necessary amount to Chain Veil. Although I think that costs 6 mana altogether between casting Chain Veil and activation, so I think we're still pretty far away from that game-winning combo here. Let's see what he goes for,
It's going to be Trinisphere.
I like
Sorry, I'm
Trinisphere.
coming.
It is going to be Trinisphere.
Trinisphere's good.
And we're sacrificing the Mana Vault, so we'll have to pay 2. I will pass after that.
This Trinisphere has been bugging me all week. This is not the card that I should have gotten. I had the mana. I could have gone for the combo piece, but it was still going to take me a while until I would actually be able to cast the Teferi. I thought I needed to buy myself more time. I forgot that Magda doesn't need to cast spells anymore.
I'm gonna sack.
So yes, this is, I assume, the crucial mistake. Especially since we got the confessional with Cam there on it. But if you're thinking about the rest of the table here, if we were specifically ignoring Magda, which we have, the Trinisphere is great at this table because Krark and Sakashima is the biggest threat other than Magda, of course. We're not going to get REB'd with this Trinisphere on board. Like, Nick can choose to pay into Treasonous Ogre, go down to 2 life, and cast this. That means that we're going down to 1 off of the Mana Vault trigger when Nick untaps, and then that means that our Ancient Tomb can't be tapped for mana. We're very, very limited on our resources here under this Trinisphere. I can understand Cam, though, being like, okay, you want to REB my back to basics, let's protect the back to basics, let's get more time in here. I think, though, given the fact that we think that Fitz might not even untap and win here, I still don't think that going for Chain Veil necessarily gets us any further here. I think that Trinisphere locks out the rest of the table from interacting with Fitz, which I think is probably bad. I don't think there's a scenario in which we really want other people to not interact with Fitz here. But again, Nick can't interact with Fitz here regardless. We've got REB in hand, we've got only red mana available. There's not even blue mana, even if Fitz did have a counterspell. If Fitz has a Deflecting Sword or a Fierce Guardianship or something like that, that is fine. We can still cast one of those. But again, Fitz doesn't need to cast spells here. We're just going to be activating Magda and winning the game most likely. So while the Trinisphere isn't probably quote-unquote the best choice here, I don't think that Trinisphere is going to be the thing that truly ends the game here, because I don't think that there's a whole lot that everyone can do to fuck with Magda right now.
I'm going to go get a dragon. It's going to be this Utvara.
Hey, Dylan, do you have anything we can...
Okay, Magda activation into an Utvara Hellkite. So we're not getting ready to win the game this turn. We're getting ready to win this game over the next few turns, I guess, thanks to this Trinisphere.
I feel like I am going to die here. Actually, I know I'm going to die here. This is how this
Sounds like I don't want to make a deal with you then. You're going to die.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tap, draw, go to combat.
So yeah, we do have lethal attacks on Nick in the air here, which is pretty bad. It's going to create another 6 power with another dragon. We're going to be able to take over the board in just a couple of turns, and with getting one player out, the turn rotations are going to go quicker, so we're going to see a lot of dragons add up really quickly here. I don't know if that's going to be...
do this correctly. Are some number of dragons coming at me?
There is probably going to be a big old dragon coming at you.
Okay, if you do that, before I die, back to basics will go away. So you will then have to deal with 2 people rather than 1 person.
That's fine.
Okay, that's the only card I got to play, so I figure I'll try it.
I understand. I just don't make deals with terrorists. We're going to go to combat. Dragon.
That's fair. I mean, I think, like, in my position as Nick, I'm thinking, what's the point of spending this REB here just to, like, make Fitz's life a little bit tougher? But, like, you're going to lose regardless. So, like, what does it matter? But
Van and Magda are going to
If-
come
if it
at
worked, it
Cam.
worked.
The
It
miner
didn't, though.
is going to go at Dylan, and we're going to spend a big old dragon at Krark. Trigger. Make a big old dragon. 3 treasures.
Yeah, it looks like 2 from your dwarves and then 1 from the Ragavan once it hits.
Yep. Top card of Cam's.
Sculpting steel.
Before I
Sculpting
die,
steel,
as I
interesting.
said, because I promised
Yes,
this, I'm going to
correct,
spend the
correct.
3 life, and I'm going to REB the
The back to basics.
Nick is actually trying to do this before damage happens as part of his deal to try to get out of being attacked. So really the Ragavan thing shouldn't be there yet, but that doesn't really matter. Was this part of the deal that you were trying to make earlier to keep you alive?
Basically, I was not going to unlock you if he let me live for a turn.
Okay.
But because he didn't, that's the deal. Them's the breaks.
All right, back to basics is down.
REB is resolved. I go to -4. I am dead.
Going to my second main, I would like to tap this mountain for red and crack 2 treasures. Cast this winter orb.
Oh. Oh. That sucks. That's a really good follow-up to having the back to basics destroyed. Very
I would like
unfortunate
to
for the
cast
rest
my
of the table.
I will
So
untap
Winter
one
Orb definitely
plateau,
going to keep
draw
people
card,
locked
pass my
down.
turn.
Ooh,
Cameron's,
great. Okay.
Dylan's got a
I
second
have
plateau
mana
now,
effects
though.
I get to untap. I will draw a card. It's not great, but it's something we can do. I'm going to cast a copy artifact. It's going to be making a copy of Arcane Signet. We'll pass the turn after that.
Okay, so
All
3
right,
mana
draw
copy
card.
artifact
We
and
love
an Arcane
that.
Signet.
Let's play a mountain.
I think we pretty well know where Cam is at this situation. Dylan is also. Dylan hasn't played a card in a long time, so we pretty much know where that's at. We're watching everyone lose to Magda in slow motion, which I have also been on the receiving end of before, and it is
You're gonna
brutal.
take both of these draggy boys, 2 more dragons.
So Uvara, notably, whenever a dragon attacks, so not just the Uvara Halkite, but now also when these tokens attack, the tokens are also making more tokens. So basically, I think
And
we're going to
then they're
see
gonna
the
take
end of
Magda as
everyone's
well.
life total
Should I
by
take
next
Ragavan
turn,
as well?
I would think.
Yeah, you should just take dragons.
Okay,
You should-
okay.
You can just take all of this damage, actually.
Oh, okay, yeah.
18 at
So
you.
I'm at 5, and then you get Snowcover Island.
Why do I even open my mouth?
All right. Trigger.
Far and away my favorite thing about Play to Win is just those quick little intermittent confessionals that they do. I enjoy that quite a bit.
2 dragons that are untapped. 3 treasures. Tap for a mountain. 2 treasures here. Tangle wire.
It's a lot of mana. Ooh, Tangle Wire too, dear lord.
Oh, I am feeling thoroughly spanked this game.
Oh
You know
my
what? I
lord.
got extra.
Tangle Wire is brutal in this scenario. Winter Orb, Tangle Wire, and then Fitz just has
Wizardrixes for dragons.
4 dragons
Winter
at this
Orb allows
point.
me to untap 1 land and
Back.
Tangle Wire. I have a window here. I'll lose a life with City of Brass to cast Swords of Plowshares on Udvar Hellkite in response to the Tangle Wire.
Okay, so Winter Orb says that you can only untap 1 during your untap step. So Dylan does have this window here where she sees and utilizes perfectly. This is a really, really great play. So we only get to untap 1 of these lands during our untap step, but then Tangle Wire during our upkeep puts a trigger on the stack to tap down our stuff. So we can respond to that trigger by just tapping out our lands anyway and casting a spell if we have one. Swords to Plowshares is the perfect one. We have to spend all of our mana to do it, which is very bad on next to this Winter Orb. But we do get the dragon off the table, and we lose in slightly less or slightly more slow motion, slightly slower motion. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So, a very good play by Dylan here. I don't think it's going to be enough to turn the tide of this, but it's a very good play. Uvara Hellkite out of the way
Gain
is very
6
good.
and go to 46.
And then Tangle Wire, I will tap down the Dockside. Draw card, pass turn.
On my turn, I will untap this, and then Tangle Wire.
So, now Cam here with the Tangle Wire can choose to tap Trinisphere, which does turn Trinisphere off, which is an interesting idea. I wonder if he goes for it here.
3.
Depends on what he has, though.
And what the hell? It's Trinisphere. Tapping
Okay.
down Trinisphere.
Oh, what the hell?
I'm dead. Maggie doesn't have to cast spells. You're almost dead. Who cares?
I'm
No, I agree with Cam there. I think that turning off the Trinisphere gives you the biggest chance to be able to do something, because otherwise we're tapping down one of our lands and then we can't cast anything anyway. So I'd rather in this position give myself the ability to cast a spell here and draw something off the top. Like, Cam knows what's in his hand, and it didn't appear as though he made that choice to try to cast something that was in his hand. But this gives you the best chance of pulling something off of the top, and like, we're very dead in this scenario. So I think that this is like probably the best play that Cam has available to
gonna
him.
draw for turn. Pass the turn.
Untap some dragons.
And can't pass
I will
this,
tap
unfortunately.
down.
Loses a counter first.
Let's go with this.
So Tangle Wire actually creates 2 triggers when you, as the player, untap with it, the person who casts the Tangle Wire, there's one for fading, and then there is one to actually tap down your permanents. So you get to choose which order those go in. So the pro play is obviously to put the fading counter on top, so you go from 4 to now 3, and then you get to fade your permanents, which Tangle Wire is already letting you cheat on. You just tap your Tangle Wire, doesn't turn it off or anything like that, and then you get to tap down 2 permanents. So Tangle Wire, very, very good that way. But yeah, we fade first and then do our Tangle Wire trigger if you ever need to come across that in real life.
Draw my card, cast a Lion's Eye. Let's go to combat.
Cam's
You're
at 5?
I am
You're
at
five?
5. Yeah.
And I'm at 30.
Cam, you're going to take 2 of these dragons. Dylan, you're take 1, and then Miner and Magda. Treasure.
No effect.
So Fitz here sending 2 of the dragons at Cam to try to fade a blue blast, I would imagine, which is a very reasonable play. You don't want to let Cam live any longer than he has to, really, because Dylan is the one who has cast the fewest spells in this game. So if Dylan's the one that we're keeping alive at the end of the day, I'd be fine with
Take
that
10,
as
go
well.
to 20.
Pass the turn here.
Yeah, I'm gonna untap 1 land, tap on my permanents for Tango Wire, draw a card, and pass turn.
We'll untap. We'll tap down.
That sounds like it's it.
And Tangle Wire. Draw a card. Play a mountain. 3 dragons.
Even got the mountain off
Along
the
with
top.
2
Let's
dwarves.
go.
I'm dead.
And that's just a huge amount of damage. Look at all those cards. Oh, yeah. Dylan got a great hand, but can't cast any of them.
Hands down, I think what this really did was just kind of highlight how well Magda can perform under stacks.
Yes, I think that this was a really, really great showing of how good Magda is at performing under stacks. Because honestly, like, they just ran away with the game at that point where we're seeing the Trinosphere come down. The back to basics was also super, super helpful for them. I think without the help from Cam's deck here, honestly, I think Magda maybe gets buried. But with all of the help that it had from those couple of stacks pieces, and this is always the thing, is that like any deck that runs stacks is always enhanced by other decks at the table running stacks, and this was just a perfect showing of that. That was just absolutely beautiful. So yeah, that was a great game. That was very, very interesting. A lot of really interesting decision points. Players played it very well. Loved to see that. That was really awesome. Big shout to the Play to Win guys. Always a fabulous show that they put on, and appreciate the heck out of y'all watching. Thank you so much, and we will catch you next time here on Dockside Extortionist. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, one of the best ways to support us is by leaving a comment and hitting that like and subscribe button. It's incredibly helpful and always appreciated. If you want to support the channel more directly, join our Patreon to catch episodes early, join our private Discord, and get some other awesome benefits. One final thank you to all of our patrons who make great content like this possible. And thank you for watching. Be good to yourself, everyone.